How to overcome analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis is when your mind is working overtime on a decision or maybe a situation that you happen to be in, and your mind is just working on it, ruminating on it, and then your mind starts to get tired, and then you get to the place where you're so tired and so fatigued mentally that you just can't make a decision. And when you can't make a decision, you're just kind of stuck. So it turns out analysis paralysis oftentimes is considered to be not very useful. But you were talking to someone here, or you're hearing from someone here that knows a lot about analysis paralysis, because that is often my default situation when I get stuck. That's right. I start thinking about something and I get paralyzed just thinking about it over and over and over from all these different angles. Now, a lot of times people say, well, analysis paralysis is a bad thing. And if it's your situation, you should just stop thinking about it so much and just take action. And yes, just taking action does seem to cure a little bit of analysis paralysis, but it doesn't really seem to deliver the positive impact that it really could. In fact, you could be using analysis paralysis to your advantage when you use it correctly. So I'm going to give you a short process to use your analysis paralysis to your benefit and actually make progress and ultimately conquer analysis paralysis through the back door. So here's the way. First step is to understand, why is this important? So why is this decision important? Why is this project that you're working on, or the situation, why is it so darn important? If it's not important, then you actually may want to just go take action, because if it's not important, you're kind of perseverating and you're using up your good energy and thoughts on something not important and impactful to you. So let's move on to something else. When you determine that it's something important to you and impactful, move to step 2, which is a catastrophic scenario planner. So I like to use Excel. Some people use a piece of paper where you write down all the possible list of outcomes down the page. Now, I say catastrophic outcomes because when it comes to analysis paralysis, we're not often thinking about all the positive things that could come from this decision. We're usually defaulting to all the bad things. So I like to focus on all the possible bad things of you making that big purchase or making the decision in your career or whatever happens to be on that big project. List out all the terrible things that could happen. Okay, and your list is probably going to be pretty long. Don't set the timer, give yourself plenty of time, or give yourself an hour to write down all the terrible things. Now, the good news is, too, when you're thinking about terrible outcomes, they seem to come out of your head, at least my head, pretty quickly. I can brainstorm a lot of potential bad outcomes. After you get all the bad ones out, write some of the good ones down too. What are all the potential upsides that can come from this decision? Then create a reply, your response to each one. And that's the magic, okay? Because you're clearing your mind of all the scenarios that could possibly happen, both good and both bad, and then a response to each. Man, yes, it is getting windy out here today. So then your mind is clear. Now the third step is the best part, and it's to come up with a tiny concrete action that usually begins with Googling, calling, or emailing, or maybe even researching, but I don't like using research. Use the term Google, because really that's what it is, right? You're Googling something on the Google box to give you some answers. So let your analysis paralysis move a little bit further, but just determine your next step, right? You're not trying to solve the whole decision or even make the decision. You're just trying to determine, get clarity on what your next step happens to be. And I can tell you, this is the absolute money step, because that little concrete step that you're going to take, it seems like you're just advancing your knowledge just a little bit, but you're actually creating more momentum. And it's like an expanding outline. You take that next step, it creates the next one, and next one, next one. And eventually it expands so big that you can see, okay, hey, this is obvious what my decision is, or my next step's going to be to conquer this analysis paralysis. So let's quickly review. Number 1, okay, is that decision, or is that whatever you're getting analysis paralysis on, is it really worth it in the first place? If it is, go to the first step, or the second step, which is the catastrophic scenario planner. Create that, list all the bad things that could happen. Caught my earbud here. List out all the bad things that could happen and a response to each. Get that out of your brain, get it onto paper. That's your backup plan for whatever decision you happen to make. And the third step is just to define that next concrete step that you're going to take to help advance your agenda forward, to give you a little bit more clarity towards making this final decision. And notice how it's an expanding outline where once you take that concrete next step, whether it be emailing somebody, calling someone to get information, Googling a little bit more, gives you that clarity. The expanding outline generates more options for you so you can get more clarity and eventually go all in on your next step.